Hello and happy Friday. We are so excited to join you today to celebrate International Women's Day, which is actually tomorrow, but we wanted to get kicked off and started early. In fact, for the entire month, we have an opportunity to celebrate amazing women in leadership, and we will be hosting several of these Mosaic Minutes and bringing in some fabulous leaders that we've met in this industry, really across all industries, and just to be able to share their journey. We are fortunate enough that we have our founder here today. Vicki Hill is our founder and chairwoman of the board. And she is the reason why we get to say women owned, women led. And she has carried on that tradition with myself as well, which is an extreme honor. So we felt like there was no better opportunity than to really kick off March by celebrating other, again, amazing women in leadership. So we have just a few minutes for you today where we have we're going to have a dialogue, a fun dialogue here. And just hope that it either has you think about your journey or gives you a chance to ask that question to somebody else. What's been your leadership journey? So let's get it kicked off.
Yeah. So Krystyn, thank you so much for asking me to join. This is so fun. I always love talking about this with you in particular, just the strong women leader that you are. And so I would love for you to kick it off actually, and kind of tell us about that moment you knew that leadership was what you wanted to do.
Leadership, which is such an interesting, because it's not about managing, right? It's about leading people. And I knew at a very young age that I had this desire, this pull to be a leader of whether it's small groups of people, large groups of people. I will say it kind of kicked off more when I was in undergrad. And I noticed that I was gravitating towards these positions that were an opportunity to add my flavor on something like homecoming for the University of UT Chattanooga, or sorority recruitment, or when I played soccer or road crew. I had these opportunities I just kept drawing myself towards. And there's a really fun question. I know we've talked about this before when I've asked, what was your first job and what did you learn from it? And my first job, I was a YMCA party girl, meaning I literally created the birthday parties for all those amazing young children and worked with their parents. And I did that for 3 years, 3 summers, and absolutely loved it. And what I noticed, and when answering that direct question is, it's a fun thing, and you learn this as an adult. You don't want to take the birthday cake home with you. You're like, there's more birthday cake at home. I learned this as a parent. But, and I never understood why parents would just leave this amazing, half-eaten cake, and they'd be like, I don't want to take it home. And so every, twice on Saturday, once on Sundays, I would have this, half-eaten cake. And my job was to make sure it was distributed evenly. And that if you had already gotten this early on Saturday, later Saturday birthday party, it's got to go to someone else. So I have a weird fair meter in my head that I think draws me to leadership. I want there to be fairness for a group of people, a workforce. And so early on, I knew that's what I wanted to do. And as I continued to start my career at work, I continued to be drawn towards that natural just leadership, and so much that I went and have a master's in strategic leadership. So I've studied some of the best and strive to continue to develop to be the best leader I can. Of course, right back at you, which is, I think of you founding Mosaic. You've inspired so many leaders, and you have really stepped into leadership from day one. You didn't really have a choice there. What has that journey been like for you?
I love your story, by the way. I've heard that several times. I don't know how you got through college eating so much cake, but my journey is very different than yours. I don't know that being in leadership was not in my wheelhouse like it is yours. And so really my journey was, I led by example. I'm a consultant at heart, and I loved the work that I did with our clients. And so as our, team grew, I could show them what that looked like. How do we treat our customers? How do we treat each other? So it was a very different journey. And like you said, it's not anything that I aspired to go into. It just kind of came with the job. And doing it by example was the best way that I knew how to do it. So two very different journeys, right? That kind of got us here.
It still got us here. And that's kind of the exciting part. And when I think about you building up Mosaic from ground up, I always love hearing you tell that story. And I know in orientation, which I have later today, now I get to share that story within the organization, which is exciting. But when I think about you starting Mosaic, those early days and for the last, 14 years, you have really, you've been that leader to Mosaic until you kind of officially handed the torch over. There we go. The torch word was falling out of my brain there. But you faced some challenges. What were some of the challenges, or what was a challenge that you faced as a woman in leadership when you founded Mosaic, or as you went through the growth period of Mosaic?
Yeah, gosh, which one to talk about? I would say, I think for me, my biggest challenge was finding the balance between empathy and being decisive and making decisions, right? So I'm a very empathetic leader, which means it's really important for me to get a lot of perspective before making big decisions. And ultimately what happens for me is that turns into paralysis by analysis, right? I've often said, you've heard me say it, I'm actually hearing you say it these days, is that I'm filled with data and opinions. And so then it's hard to make a decision. And so that was a challenge for me. And I had to learn to kind of push through that, be more decisive, get enough perspective, and then really just be comfortable with the fact that I can't please everybody, and that I'm making the best decisions with the information that I have at hand. So that certainly has been a journey for me. But what about you? What kind of challenges are you facing as the current leader of Mosaic?
I know you and I talk a lot, and you've been a great mentor when it comes to that level of empathy, and how do you still remain in the ability to make decisions and to make them quickly for the organization or for the person that you're speaking to, or to be able to have that empathy. I find empathy and accountability, for whatever reason, kind of have this interesting dichotomy. So that definitely has been one that you have continued to coach me on for years now, and I continue to strive to have that balance. I will say my journey has also included, there's a lot of voices. There's a lot of voices that feel very confident just to tell you what you can and can't do. And there's a lot of voices around you that have strong opinions, and those opinions can be about you as a leader. And so part of my journey has been to learn how to use that as fuel and motivation to go and do and accomplish what I want to accomplish. As a leader, instead of hearing those voices that say, you're never going to be that, or you can't be that. That's not, you have an HR background, there's no way you can be a CEO. How do you push those voices out and just stay focused on what you are capable of doing? And so that's been one of my challenges, because I do care. I care about people, that level of empathy. I also care about what people think, right? I want to know their opinions. And because sometimes there's little grains of truth in everything, and you're able to see a bigger picture. Part of, teamwork is one of our core values. Multiple heads are always going to be better than the one. But it's for me, one of the challenges has definitely been focus on your inner voice and focus on those that are around you that lift you up, and use it as fuel when somebody tells you you can't, and say, I'm going to prove you wrong on that because I want to prove you wrong.
Yeah. You have taught me that I think every CEO should have an HR background.
Would not hurt whatsoever. All right, you guys heard that. You heard it here first. I am going to highly encourage for people to think through that for sure. So talking about that, I just, when you think about giving advice, I feel like I went straight into like, here's my challenge, here's the advice. You definitely did the same thing, but what's that one piece of advice you'd give women that are growing in their leadership? What would that be?
Well, you actually just touched on it. I really think it's following your intuition, right? And letting that guide you a little bit. I feel like women come into roles never quite feeling like they qualify for the position, that they're kind of an underdog. And that puts us a little bit at a disadvantage. So we're always questioning ourselves and don't quite have that confidence. But trusting your intuition, trusting your gut reaction to situations, and then finding the confidence to then move forward, make decisions, for example. I think that's so important. And finding a mentor that will help you discover that confidence and what kind of leader you want to be, and being intentional about it. So how about you? What are you telling female leaders in the organization?
It's an and statement, not a but. Never a but. It's always an and. And the mentorship piece, that inner circle, that the voices that you do listen to, I am in full support of women lifting up other women, right? And so when we see that promotion come across, it's never right. Well, why'd they get that? Why not me? It's a heck yeah, that person just got to that next level. Let's make sure that we show that support and confidence, just like we would want to be shown that confidence right back. And so the mentorships and who you surround yourself is important, because it is a part of the voices that you hear every day. But I think the one piece of advice that I've gotten really comfortable with in giving is living in the uncomfortable zone.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is some of my most fast-paced growth has been when I have been so uncomfortable because I was learning new things, I'm hearing new terms, or, oh, I've never been faced with this challenge. Okay, man. And I think that uncomfortable zone speaks to what you just mentioned, whether it's imposter syndrome or just, again, building up that confidence within that next level or that next role. That's the part there of just, you got to get comfortable with living in uncomfortable and know that great growth is going to come from that. And at the end of the day, you're going to be faced with insecurities, that your own insecurities that you're trying to get over. You're also going to be faced with adversity. And so just what you do in those moments really kind of defines your next level of leadership. So hard times aren't a bad thing. They define who you are as a leader. So that's been kind of my talk track recently as well.
So what kind of advice would you give to other companies, or maybe some of our clients that you talk to every day? What advice would you give to them to create more opportunities for women to rise up into leadership?
I will tell a small, I can never do short stories, let's be real. So part of my journey, and this is going to play into what I'm going to encourage others to think through. Vicki sponsored me in a program through the Nashville EO for entrepreneurs. And it was like Second Command Level Up is essentially what the name came down to. But this was a program. It was a year-long commitment and a year-long sponsorship. And we had some incredible opportunities during that program. So much, it helped me so much, both personally and professionally, that I started working with the founder and the creator of that program, Mary Sobin, and said, how do we bring this into Mosaic? How do we create that environment to really build up the next level of leader, a level of leader that can think about the business as a whole, not just as a financial aspect, not just about, it's yes, clients, yes, finance, yes, your partnership, and yes, your employees. And this program was pretty amazing because I was actually the only, at the time, HR person that was there. I was sitting across from operational leaders, from financial leaders. I was sitting across from all different industries. And so what I learned is the problems that you have in your organization are the exact same problems, just maybe said with a few different terms, that are happening across all industries. And your challenge that you may face around, recruiting great talent is the same challenge that somebody's having in the retail space. It's just phenomenal to see the similarities. What I also found is this program gave me the ability to build a stronger connection with you, to really understand what keeps you up at night and what your focus is for the Mosaic growth and the organization. And that really transferred over years, right? Kind of how we kind of got here. So my advice to organizations would to highly consider, is your leadership development effective? What are the promotion rates that come out of that? Are you finding there's a diverse group of backgrounds that come into that program that are also able to be lifted up? And so I love to give back. Part of my legacy I want to leave is I've helped the next generation of leaders. And I hope that at the end of the day, when I'm sitting in front of 20 executives in a meeting, that there's just one other female leader sitting across the table, maybe more, that's had a similar journey. And so just look at your leadership development program and actually ask yourself, is this effective? Of course, you've been in this seat much longer than me. What advice would you give organizations?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on. You have to be intentional about it and creating the opportunities for women, and then encouraging them and coaching them and mentoring them. I think it's so important to have that intentionality behind it. And I think a lot of organizations just kind of see who bubbles up to the top without really encouraging the diversity of gender in that leadership table, right? The table that you're talking about. So yeah, I think you're spot on. You have to be intentional about it. And that program, by the way, that you mentioned, I think is a direct result of where you are today. Mm-hmm. We put a lot of focus in on that, and you actually took it to heart and you said, I want to grow with this program. And I'm so proud. Look where you are today.
I love it. Well, be a Vicki, invest in your leaders. It will pay off. It will, right?
Absolutely.
Maybe you actually can take time off and, I don't know, focus on family. Let's get crazy. All right. Well, any final words, any parting words? We're right at, I cannot believe how quickly that went, 16 minutes in.
Wow.
I just know that we wanted to share a little bit about our story and our journey. This has been very fruitful for both of us to be able to continue to lead in an amazing environment, right? And be women-owned, women-led, and just wanted to share that with many of you today. Of course, Mosaic's always here. If you ever have a question or need or want to talk through what that looks like in your organization, we'd be very happy to help you. And of course, if you just want to talk to me directly too and talk about what that journey looks like for you, also very happy to connect and continue that conversation. Happy International Women's Day tomorrow. For all that, continue to invest into your leaders. Vicki, any final parting words before we sign off?
I would just say, Krystyn put it out there. I would take her up on it. I think she's a fantastic leader and a fantastic coach and mentor. So take her up on it.
Well, I appreciate it. All right.
Happy International Women's Day. Thank you, Krystyn.
Thank you. We'll see you guys in a few weeks.